Close
All
enough.
right. Close
All
enough.
right.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This was a little awkward. That's not totally because we're doing this from home. I am not Queen, lead community manager on Dead by Daylight. Welcome to this Q&A live stream from our living rooms. Today with me, I have some known faces. So wait, they're here. Okay. So we have Matt Cote and
Hi.
I think you know him, and Patrick Harris. And apparently my mic is broke.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Did you jiggle the thingy?
I
Turn it
jingled
off and
the
on
thing,
again.
turning it off and on again.
Maybe it's your voice. Maybe get a lozenge or something. You sound scratchy.
Are you a robot, Gab?
I might.
Aha!
be. Listen, this is bound to happen. So for now,
Yep.
I have no plan, no contingency plan.
Okay.
And okay, everyone's going with the robot.
We'll fix your mic in a future patch.
Okay,
There we
you
go.
know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try to fix that. I'm sure you guys can handle this.
All right. So let's get started. No, we'll finish. Well, we've done the presentations, so it's just us there. Okay. For now, until we get special secret guests. But that's for later. Okay. Let's start. We have a long list of questions here, and we will answer as many of them as we can, and we'll try to be educational and entertaining as we do that. You with me on that, Pat?
I'm with you.
Okay, good. All right, we have a question here. Should we read the name of people? Sometimes there's fun ones. I don't think.
Where'd our
Sounds
pictures
dangerous.
go? Oh man, we're having some picture issues here.
Really? Okay.
She is turning it off and on again.
All
We
right.
got, like, spoiler alert. I mean, come on.
All right, let's get to the questions here.
Yeah, we'll get to the questions. We'll let
We'll-
tech guys deal with the pictures. We'll be all right.
That's fine.
Hey, there she is.
But the good news is, and that's something that should make everybody out there feel very comfortable, is the fact that we are all working safely from home right now, which explains some of our technical issues. So there,
Okay.
will we?
Am I good now?
You're
Hey!
much better. Yes.
Yay! It's just
A
a
much
quick
more
read,
convincing
turning
robot.
it off and on again.
It's
and
magic.
everything's under control. Awesome.
All right. So please.
what were you saying?
I was just saying that all of these issues can be explained by the fact that we are safely all working from our own homes, which is good.
Yes.
And then I was just about to read the first question, so please, Gab, take it away.
Oh, did we do all the intro and like how
Yeah.
we selected the Q&A?
Nope, I
didn't do that
said
part.
nothing.
Okay, cool. So basically we're going to explain how we selected the question this time. People posted their questions on the forum, and the most upvoted questions were selected are also the ones that were asked many, many times. We'll do our best to answer all that we can, but there's some stuff that we just can't answer, or we have to skip because we either can't commit to an answer or we just can't legally talk about it. So there's stuff like that we had to remove, even if there was a little bit of upvotes on. We're also trying out captions for the first time, so you can see down there, and I'm really hoping it's catching up my accent properly. Apparently
Yeah.
it works, because
Doing a
Very
pretty good
cool.
job.
yeah. In news and announcement, we have two big news today. The Design Your Own Cosmetic Contest submissions closed 2 weeks ago, last week. Not sure
There
exactly.
are some
May 3rd.
delicious things in there.
Exactly. We had over 1,000 entries, so a lot of people participated, and the winners will be announced during the 4th anniversary stream, which goes to the next point. 4th anniversary stream. Join us on May 26th on Twitch and YouTube for the 4th anniversary stream. We're gonna do one. You'll see. It's from home still. It's gonna be super fun.
It's gonna be super fun.
And we just a note for today. we are not announcing any new content here today. So if you're here for that, that's not what we're doing. We're answering questions that were asked on the forums. So we're here to answer.
And nobody asked about the new content, so
Well, actually, I think you're right.
there you go. Woohoo!
All right, so we're gonna start with the first question. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 pages of questions. So
Let's get to it.
let's get to it. All right, so Mr. Candy Killer is asking, will we ever see Devotion's reward?
Yeah. Oh, I guess I'll take that one. We do not have a plan for devotion rewards at the moment, but yeah, you're saying here it might be too early to talk about this, but we want to talk about additional prestige rewards. But I'll leave it at that for now, I guess. Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got a design in the pipe. It's neat. I'm excited. I'm not going to say anything about it though.
Okay. That's just terrible
Okay,
way to
so
start.
We're
Just gonna
using
tease people the whole
prestige
way.
rewards. That's what's
Yeah.
happening right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I see.
Not announcing any new content. So
So we have a couple of questions that start with multiple people. It's not the same person asking multiple times. It's a lot of people asking the same question. So will we have an option to disable anti-aliasing? And what is that?
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, what is it?
I want to disable it, but mostly I don't know what it is.
Help me understand. Yeah, I mean, for the less technically inclined of us who don't fiddle with video card settings all the time, anti-aliasing is a video rendering technique for 3D games. Generally, I'm very broadly generalizing here, so don't expect this to be a university class on anti-aliasing, but it's a technique to basically smooth out the edges or the pixelated edges that you see on 3D objects in a 3D game. So generally speaking, you turn on anti-aliasing and your game just kind of looks prettier. You don't see the little pixelated edges around things like characters and backgrounds and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it has a performance cost associated with it. I mean, I'm from the olden days of video games. I remember when having anti-aliasing on your game was a pipe dream, and you needed a $10,000 PC to do it. Now you can do it on anything. But there are still people who don't like the sort of performance hit it has or the visual effect it does. Everybody's PCs and everybody's setups and eyeballs are different. And yeah, recently we sort of accidentally disabled the ability to disable anti-aliasing, I believe. So we're
Yes.
we hear ya. We get it. We want it back too. We're working on it right now. I have designs for the menus and stuff in the pipeline. So yeah, it will be coming as an in-game option in the not too distant future. I don't know exactly which patch it's coming in, but I promise we're working on it, and I promise it's coming.
Awesome. Okay, Dennis with a lot of S and W's. Any news on fixing hitboxes or hits through the windows?
Yeah, the hitboxes and network stuff is my jam. So yeah, the long and short of it is yes. We're looking at fixing a whole bunch of stuff with how hits are registered to make things more fair. One of the main ones that's coming very soon, we're working on it right now. I'm validating builds with it, stuff like that, is to have the dedicated server do a validation of every hit that goes through. So the dedicated server is basically gonna, not to get too technical, but when the killer hits survivor, the dedicated server is basically gonna start doing sanity checks and go, does that make sense? Was that hit possible? Does it line up in time? Was the survivor within range when that happened? Do all that kind of stuff and validate every hit. So that should make a lot of things like hitting through windows, hitting through walls, hitting from really far away, all that kind of stuff will be made to be a lot more fair. It'll the server will basically be an authority and go, yeah, that was a fair hit, I'm gonna let that go through. Or if the hit was unfair or otherwise invalidated, the server's gonna go, nah dude, that wasn't a hit, and then the survivor won't take the damage and the game will continue as though the hit missed.
Server's a
All right.
pretty chill dude. It's like, nah, dude,
Server's
we're good.
yeah, he's a pretty chill dude. He kills survivors and doesn't afraid of anything.
Actually, I just wanted to specify that hits through windows is by design.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you
So
can still
all
hit
of
through
this here
windows.
is about hitboxes and, of course, hits through windows if you're already super far in the ahead.
The vault.
Yeah, in the vault, but not like hitting through window is a basic gameplay mechanic we have.
It's a basic human right.
All right. Leo Cookie is asking, are there any plans for a story mode with AI?
Well, the AI coming in, especially the work that was done on mobile for that, opened the door to a lot of interesting conversations internally. Right now, DBD is still very much a multiplayer game, and we can expect it to stay that way. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, cryptically.
The answer is no.
Yes. Yes, there are
Yes,
no
the
plans.
answer is no. Okay.
No, there aren't
Yep.
not any non-plans to undo not that.
Yes.
Oh my
Very
God.
clear.
Tomorrow there's someone that's trying to calculate, but what was the real answer there?
Good luck. I don't even know what it was. So if somebody can tell me what I said, that'd be great.
All right, Young King, the OG, I think. Are you going to improve graphics and air physics in the future?
Yeah, well, the improvements to visuals and improvements in general obviously are something that we spend time worrying about and spend time working on. Uh, the hair has always been a bane of our existence to a certain extent, but I think that's for all video games. Uh, yeah. Uh, yes, we'll continue to do what we can to make things better. I think that if you look at what the hair of the characters looked like 4 years ago compared to today, hair and other bits and bobs in the game, you'll see a dramatic improvement. What are we seeing?
What?
But yeah, no, I got distracted by something on screen. Yeah, so yeah, there's no specifics that we can get into right now. Let's say.
Yeah, it's worth noting here that doing graphical, improvements and hair physics, all that kind of stuff, it's trickier in a game like DBD than it is in a lot of other games in that we care a lot about visibility of the characters, being
Yeah.
able to hide and stuff like that. So sometimes, you make a change to something visually, be it a new art asset or a new technology for the way things render or look in the game. And while it may look really cool on just the character standing there, it can confer some kind of unfair advantage or disadvantage to the
Yeah.
players in the game, right? Like, I don't want to fix hair and suddenly make it so that you can see everyone's hair really easily all the time in the game. That'll make it too hard to hide. Right.
We've had glitches
Yeah.
and issues with hair through fog and things like that. It's so
Exactly.
delicate for us. Let's put it that way: gameplay and the fact that the game is as fair or unfair as it is supposed to be is always going to be the trump card. It's always going to win in the end.
There is
Yep.
also some changes that are planned for the next big update that are slight changes, slight improvements to lighting and shadows. So we're hoping this is going to help as well on the visibility of your
Yep.
character.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Vladistan from
Close enough.
the Russian. Yeah. close
Vladistan.
enough. Yeah. Are you planning on adding a dedicated server located in Russia?
No.
So we have the answer from our TD here, our technical director, saying no, it is not currently planned.
Yep, that's the answer.
Okay, so that one was quick.
Yeah, it's quick. I know it's disappointing for our Russian friends. We are, like, for what it's worth, we are continually working on our matchmaking system and how it places you into games and onto servers to minimize the effect of geolocation, distance, latency, stuff like that. So hopefully it'll become less of a problem. But yeah, as of the moment, we're not planning on putting new servers in Russia.
There you go.
Lucas Doa Moral, are there any changes planned for the Memento Mori offerings, such as only usable on Deathhook, which is, yeah, ready to case.
I mean, so when it comes to the Moris and the Mori system, from a design perspective, we've looked at it. We're not like we don't think it's perfect by any means. Is anything ever perfect, right? It's the fun part of working
Some
on a
things
live game.
are perfecter than others. Let's say.
Yeah, your face is perfect, Matt. There's an example. So we've got a little bit of perfection kicking around on the team. Just we want to obviously make the Mori system more like Matt's face. Is that a thing I can say? All right, well,
Yeah.
too late.
Yeah. It's now a thing.
Too late, it's done.
It's a parameter
say
of quality
don't put me
control
on
now.
Yeah, exactly. I measure we measure designs against like the scale is from very bad to Matt's face. That's how we do.
I
That's
like that there's
perfection.
no other people involved
No,
or
no,
other body parts. That
there-
could have
I
been
mean,
weird.
like all of them pale in comparison to the perfection of your face.
Oh, pish
So-
posh. All right.
But the point is, with the Mori system, yeah, like we know it's something that could use some improvement. It's something that's on the list. There are definitely some ideas on the design team bouncing around. I'm not going to tell you what any of them are. Don't like telling you guys anything that might not come to fruition. It's on the list. It's a matter of priorities. I can't commit to when it's coming in, but it's actively being discussed. It's something that we're looking at and considering and trying to figure out what the best answer is.
All right.
The next one. A Cure for a Living is asking, is there any update on Quentin's face update or new cosmetic for licensed killers?
Well, the first part of that question is complicated. We've addressed it in the past. It's a conversation that needs to happen between a lot of different parties, and it's a very complex legal discussion. So for now, we have nothing to announce on that front. As far as new cosmetics for licensed killers, we've shown that we are able to do more cosmetics for existing licensed killers, and it's fun, and we know you like it, and therefore it is something that exists in the past. It's something that might very well exist in the future too. If it was, we wouldn't be talking about it now. So, there.
Oh dear. Okay, all right. Multiple people. Again, I've asked, have you thought about a 2v8 game mode? And this is a
Never.
question that comes back.
We've never thought about it.
Did we
What?
never
That's
talk
crazy.
about it?
No,
I'm not even
seriously.
thinking about it right now.
It's something that's come back so many times. I mean, even from the early days of the prototype, we tried all the different combinations, not all of them, but like all the possible, like 1v6, 1v12, 2v6, 2v2, blah blah blah. We tried as many combinations as we could. We ended up with 1v4 because we think it's a good mix. It's a good mix, and also we thought it would make for possible the big issue with that is that you have to have a community that's able to play, and therefore you have to have it's not exactly a 4-to-1 ratio of survivors to killer, because some survivors end the game early and can move on to a different one, but the ratio needs to be close enough that people can get together and play a game. Now, right now, I think we can all agree that matchmaking and queue times are not perfect. They could be better for sure.
They're not a Matt's face on the.
They are not
overall
at that
scale.
level yet. However,
You wrote to Matt's face, where are they right now?
but the thing is, if we were to add right now a button that says you can either play the normal 1v4 mode or you can play the 2v8 mode, we'd split the community in two, and therefore all of these problems would be exaggerated. So,
So-
it's always a very difficult call to make, and so far we've decided not to make it.
There's also the part of the answer, which is when you're playing as killer, you play against like 4 times 4 perks, and now Yes, you're going to play with another killer, but you're going to play against 8 times 4 perks, and things are stacking, and they're not made like at the
That's
beginning,
it.
made for being stacked that much.
And especially that's a very good point. Like, how many perks would instantly break if 2 killers walked in with
Yeah.
2 different combinations of perks and powers? Like, the whole thing goes to shit really quickly. I think is
So,
the technical term.
Yeah, that's the technical term.
Okay.
all right. So that's it. That would be.
It's
We
a
thought
completely
about it, but
different
it's
game. It would be probably a super cool game, but it's a completely different game.
Mhm.
all right. Multiple people again ask, will there be any quality of life improvement for a solo player?
Yeah, kind of. So I'm gonna read the answer that I wrote down earlier because I thought about it. But yeah, the performance of Survive with Friends groups, like when we look at them on average, the bulk numbers, it's not that much higher than solo
Yeah.
survivors. Not so much that we're panicking, we're not freaking out. It feels different when you're the one in the game, but from our perspective, looking at the analytics and the data that we have, it's not a huge concern. It is still a concern. I still do care about this quite a bit, especially as it pertains to our matchmaking system. With the upcoming matchmaking changes that we're working on right now and doing limited tests of, moving towards a matchmaking rating based system means that we'll be able to quantify uh, the advantage, if you will, or the performance increase that Survive with Friend groups see. We'll be able to quantify that and then adjust in the matchmaking more dynamically for that. So that's a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that once we have matchmaking ratings in, we will be able to tell very clearly how much better groups are performing and how that impacts the quality of matches. And there's some various things that we can do to then piggyback on that and to make better matchmaking that's more balanced for Survive with Friend groups. So if you're a group of like 2 super pros and your buddy you just had by the game over the weekend, we'll be able to place you in matches that are more balanced for that very disparate skill gap in that group. Like that's a tough game to matchmake for, no matter how you slice it. But there are ways that we can do that a lot better in the matchmaking with a matchmaking rating. So expect, like, it's not directly targeted at making groups versus solo queues better, but it will have that impact. It will have that effect of being able to make those games more balanced.
Sorry.
The chat's going nuts over Cooper right now. Like, ding, ding. Yeah, well, guys, we're home, so our kitties
Yeah,
are here.
that happens.
Yep.
There you go. It's a supervisor coming by to check
Yeah.
that I'm doing my job.
I locked mine out of my room
What's
so
first?
he wouldn't bug me.
All right. Creepy Amateur is asking, why did you guys remove the switch to killer to survivor button?
That was intentional and my fault.
Aw.
So if you want to get angry at anyone, you can get mad at me. That's cool. No, it was part of the rework that we did a while back to the Survive with Friend groups. So like if you all close your eyes and picture the way back in the dark times before the Survive with Friends group got reworked. Remember when you had to re-invite everyone after every game? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awful, wasn't it?
It's really quick how fast we can forget about these things when
Right?
they are not happening anymore.
Yeah, the overall group structure and the way invites worked and the flow for that was just, it wasn't up to the level of quality that we wanted it to be at. And so we reworked that entire flow. We did a lot of technical work behind the scenes, and one of the things that ended up happening was we got rid of that switch roll button that was on the side. The main reason why it went away was because if you're playing in a Survive with Friends group, now it's much easier to join games, it's much easier to invite people, and so even when you're alone, the game is kind of acting like you're in a group of 1 with 3 empty slots. And so we removed that button to get rid of any kind of weird scenarios where it's like, well, what do we do if we have 3 survivors in a group and then one of them decides to switch roles to killer, because like you can't queue like that. That's not fair for matchmaking. We don't want you grouping up with a killer and a survivor for all of the massive number of exploits there. And so kind of the cleanest way to handle this problem was to say, no, we'll just get rid of that button. Like, you back out to the main menu and you click the other buttons. So you decide, do you want to play survivor, do you want to play killer, right? Remember, it used to be, do you want to play survivor or do you want to play survive with friends? Simplified that flow, just made it so play survivor, play killer. And so one of the things that had to hit the cutting room floor from that was getting rid of that, or it was getting that, or having that button. That's what hit the cutting room floor. So we got rid of it to simplify all this other stuff. So like there was huge gains, but every once in a while you got to sacrifice a button. It takes an extra click to change which role you want to be in. I'm sorry.
It makes the whole thing a little more it makes more sense.
Makes everything else there a lot more intuitive, a lot more standard compared to other games on the market. So yeah, I'm pretty happy personally with how the Survive with Friends rework there turned out. You don't have to invite everyone again after every game, so call that a win.
There we go.
All right. Amma Eagle is asking another question about Mori. So any chance we'll see new Mori animations for Old Killer? So it's also a question from Zaitsev. To ask, we also have an extra question on top of it to ask if the Legion's Mori could include all 4 killers.
That's actually a really cool idea. I'd love to see the sort of merge, like split into 4 and then merge back into 1. That'd be super cool. And then the animators are looking at me like I'm insane. But
Shucks, Matt, we don't have anything planned for this.
We have nothing planned for this, and you know, I think this question was asked since the Hag, when we started really taking a different take on the Mori animations. Before that, they were pretty straightforward. They were very simple, and then we started getting a little more crazy with it, and now it's become a much bigger thing. So yes, there's been discussions. But it's not something that we prioritize right now.
Right. AG was here. I like this question. Could we get the ability to rejoin if we lose connection?
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's the classic multiplayer game question, right? To put it really gently, no, or at least not for the foreseeable future. It sounds like something that's really simple. Like as a gamer, I'm used to being like, yeah, reconnect. Come on, how hard can it be? From a technical level, it's actually really hard. It's really, really tough. Having somebody join a session midway, especially like most of the games that allow you to do that were built with that feature in from the very get-go because there's a lot of value to it. A game like DBD, it's tough because if you crash out, if you have a network error, average amount of time, like think about how many times your computer dies or your cat pees on your router or whatever, you have some kind of problem like this. How long it
would never do that.
never, but my cat is a jerk, so he pees on all kinds of things, especially routers. More expensive than network hardware, the more he pees on it. But you got my point. My point is, like, you have a catastrophic network problem, you have a game crash, you have a PC crash, blue screen of death, what have you. How long does that take for you realistically to get back in the game and be ready to rejoin a match?
A couple of minutes?
Yeah, like anywhere from, like, if you got a real fast computer and you fix the problem quick, like 2-3 minutes, but average it's probably going to be more like 5 minutes. Then you've got to get the reconnection going and get in the game. That's going to take another minute or so there. Now most of the game is done. You're probably, if you're a survivor, you're probably reconnecting to yourself having already died, right?
Most likely.
Yeah, most likely. And if you're a killer, well, I mean, I guess you were standing still in the game for 5 minutes. I'm assuming the survivors would have fixed some generators and dipped by then. So at the end of the day, it ends up being that realistically, most of the time when you're going to do a reconnect, the game is going to be over or have descended to such a negative state for you that you're kind of going to wish you weren't in it by that point.
And on
Anyways,
top of this, there's the penalty as well. So,
yeah.
By the way, there's a weird sound happening. It's not me, is it? All right. So there was a question in the chat. I know we're not taking questions from the chat, but someone was asking about the DC penalty and saying, "Oh, are we going to remove it?" And I just want to mention something. Since the DC penalty was put, we've seen a reduction of about 35% of disconnects.
Oh, it's higher than that. I think it was actually a
Yeah.
reduction of like 50%.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's
And
huge.
It was 35 at the beginning, I think, but now if we calculate on a longer time, it's been longer than the feature is in the game. Yes, it's more close to 50% reduction. And we did look at data as well for the number of hook suicide, because people are saying, oh, people are just switching one for the other. We haven't seen that much of an increase on that, no.
Yeah, I don't even think we saw any statistically significant increase on that. So that's a thing that it feels like is happening. It's not really happening that often.
All right. So, are there any? Oh, we're going for another question about bans. Big
Hey.
Mr. E, are there any plans to punish face camper?
I mean, no. Not really. It's really the whole point of camping is that it's up to whose mic is being so loud. I'm gonna find who it is. I'm gonna shame them. No, that's not true. I'm gonna be very nice. Is it me? I hope it's not me. If I can hear it myself, that's a
No, I
bad
think
sign.
it's Don. Don, can you just mute for a
Shh.
moment?
The secret
No
guest.
worries.
Shh.
She's hiding.
She's hiding.
okay.
But yeah, no,
Yes.
the whole point of camping, or like part of how camping is intentionally balanced, is that it keeps a killer distracted if you're camping and lets the survivors go and fix gens and get out. We admit that it kind of sucks for the guy on the hook. We're not super happy about that. And there's some things that we've talked about and scenarios to rebalance it. We don't want camping to be super appealing to killers, at least from
It's
I
a
would like to
very
kill them.
bad strategy. We all
Yeah,
know that.
yeah, we want it to be a bad strategy, right? We want it to be something that is punished by the survivors if you're camping. So are we going to punish campers like in terms of bans or any kind of like making it a reportable offense? No, we're not going to do that. We
The
may
idea,
rebalance elements of it in the future to be even less appealing to face camping killers, but that's the intention. The intention is you can do it if you want, but it's just a bad idea.
Yeah, this includes a lot of other like strategies that are deemed like cheap strategies or whatever you want to call it. Honestly, as long as you're not breaking our TOS or our game rules and you're not hacking.
But that's the other thing also is that a lot of these things we keep having the question, oh, are you going to remove the possibility of doing that? Are you going to put mechanics in place that make sure that nobody can like get close to the hook or whatever? But the more of those limitations we put around this, the more we limit the edge cases of amazing emergent things that can pop up. Like people need to be free to be able to do a bunch of different things if we want crazy one in a lifetime things to happen once in a while.
Yeah, like player choice is really important, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes a player will choose to do something that's not great for themselves in the match for whatever reason, right? And
it can be fun sometimes.
Yep, it can be fun. It can be not fun, but we want to make sure that at least it shouldn't be rampant. If literally every game involved a killer face camping all four survivors one after the other, and it was letting them win the game every time, I would personally be a lot more worried about it, and we'd be having a very different conversation right now. But that's not the case. That's just simply not the case right now.
All right. Yellow Trio is asking, will we ever be able to personalize our character's clothing? For example, picking the color of your shirt.
That's a direction in the customization options that we've decided not to go into. We don't plan of changing that, but we plan on giving you so many more options as we go on that you'll be able to find something that that represents you to a certain extent.
All right. Black Panda is asking, can we get the option to add prestige blood to any outfit?
Yeah, that's another one that keeps coming back since Prestige, I guess. And no, we're not going to do that. First of all, it's supposed to represent the original outfit, which is usually the ultimate personality of that character, but also creating that option would be very time consuming, as in it's not a simple thing to do. and we have to pick our battles, and that's
Yeah.
not one we want to have right now.
And as we said earlier, we're actually already looking into prestige rewards, right, Patrick?
Yep.
Just
Yep.
okay. I was like, correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm not, sending you guys to the wrong direction. All right. AC player, any plans to make the killer ping visible in the lobby?
Yeah. So we're not planning on doing that right now. I see why people are asking for that. Generally speaking, since the introduction of dedicated servers, players' connections to games, both killers and survivors, have gotten a lot better. Like ping has gone down. Well, I guess killer's ping hasn't gone down because they were the server before. But the killer ping isn't a huge issue in terms of their pings are abnormally high. The real problem that we're having, and I'm assuming where this question is coming from, you're not going to sneak one by on me like that, is that killers right now who have a very high ping do have a handful of what I would consider to be unfair advantages compared to killers who are playing with a lower ping. And the plan of attack there is to fix that, is to make it so they don't have those advantages. So an example is that I was talking about earlier was the server-side hit validation. One of the things the server-side hit validation does is it removes any kind of advantage the killer with a high ping had. Like I said, it sanity checks and goes, is this hit fair? Is this hit valid? Did this hit happen in a reasonable window? So one of the things the server-side hit validation is going to do is if it receives information on a hit that's just too far in the past, and I'm talking like a really huge margin in the past, it's just going to reject that outright. It's going to go, that's way too old for this to be fair. And that's going to get rid of that sensation of survivors of getting hit from 5 miles away, right? Like, I don't want a survivor suddenly gushing blood from a hit that happened 5 seconds ago on the killer's screen.
So that goes back to the previous hitbox question
Yeah.
a little bit. And the too long didn't read answer is no, we're not planning on showing the ping.
Exactly.
Still there.
Okay. Alo is asking, will licensed character have stories in the archives?
Oh boy.
You're taking that one, Matt?
Yeah. They're characters.
Okay.
That's it. That's my answer.
I concur.
Okay, well, I can answer that one. For now, we're focusing mostly on our original character for the lore. And we don't really need the licensed character for the challenges. So any character that we're putting in the archive is required for a challenge will be available for shards. So that gives you an idea of where we're going with that.
Okay.
HD is here. Could we get point for recovering while down?
Huh?
Could we? I mean, it sure is a possibility. It's a thing that we could do. It's something we've been considering, talking about doing. I've heard it a few times before in the past. Obviously, I'm not gonna promise anything. I'm not gonna give you an ETA, but it's a good idea.
So thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah.
Albino Squirrel. I gotta say, I love your name, and there's actually an albino squirrel living in the tree right there. It's
Well.
scary. Have you considered making the hook struggle automatic?
We have not. No, that's not true. We've considered it and repeatedly decided not to.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, from a gameplay standpoint, we're doing it like that because we want you to feel involved with that part of the game, right? We want you to feel like pushing back against the entity, against that sacrifice is something active, something that you as a player have agency over. We've talked about changing around how it works, but we haven't talked about automating it or getting rid of that because we think it's really important that you have that sensation of struggling, right? You can't struggle if you're alt tabbing and setting up your Spotify playlist. We want to keep you engaged. So yeah, not going to automate it.
All right. Pumpkin King is asking, have you considered a stats page showing your survivor and killer stats?
Oh, we sure
Yeah.
have considered that.
Yeah.
You bet. I want to see how many 4Ks I get. I mean, heck yeah.
one of the many problems with that, challenges with that, would be how do we go back in time also? Because
Yeah.
if I have 3,000 hours in the game and we just implemented that stat page and I've got 0 in everything,
Yep.
how
Yeah,
do I
it's a
feel about that?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's worth mentioning that our biggest bottleneck in terms of integrating features like that is it's all the UI and UX work that we need to do on the game. So,
Yeah.
what is UI and UX, Pat? Do you want to explain that
uh, man,
for some people that might not know?
yeah, I'm remembering a meme that a guy made about comparing what UI is and what UX is, and he would just take random stock photos and say this is UI and this is UX, and he kept pumping these memes out, and eventually got somebody to use one in a TED talk. It was like a picture of a pineapple, and on the other side it was like like an airplane or something ridiculous. Like he just kept putting ridiculous stuff. No, UI and UX are very similar. UI, it stands for user interface. That's like the literal menu as you see it. It's sort of like it's
Um,
again, somebody's going to get mad at me for not using the right terminology, but generally speaking, UI is like the menus you see in the game, how you interact with them, what you see, how it displays information. UX stands for user experience, and user experience is more about like how do you feel using the UI, right? How does it make you feel? How intuitive is it?
what's the
It's more about
flow from
yeah, what's
one
the
thing to the
flow?
other thing?
What's the mouth feel of this particular screen, if I will?
All right.
So
I sense
So,
a bit of a judgment there.
all right,
uh,
let's go to the next one.
Yeah, okay.
So, multiple people have asked, since you changed the perks like Stakeout, will you continue with perks like Monstrous Shrine and Small Game? So, I'm guessing that's a design
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it
yeah.
is a design question, and the answer is yes. And that's the answer. The answer is yes. Do I have plans?
Technically, every
Yes.
single perk in the game is under scrutiny and at the risk of being changed at any moment if it feels like it's not good enough. But
True.
there's a list and they're in order.
Yeah,
Except
and that order shifts around based off of new information, new
Feeling.
issues. Oh yeah, feeling, right? All that kind of stuff. So, yep.
All right. Oh, did I miss one? Sorry about that. Super Poblog. Do you have any plans to buff We're Gonna Live Forever so it does something during the match like barbecue?
Same answer. Yeah, but again, we have plans to look at everything. That's one thing that we're looking at, but don't have any details or announcements to make on that front. It is just something that we're looking at.
All right, Race is asking, do you think there will ever be a new Survivor objective?
It's possible.
Yep, it's possible.
We've done it for some events, modifications on existing objectives, and it's not impossible. I don't think we will ever drastically change what the game is at its core,
Mhm.
but yeah, there could be fun, different things to do in the game as a survivor.
Yep.
I think.
The challenge there is just making sure the things we decide to do on that front are consistent with DBD. Don't
Yeah.
like they add something new to the game, but they don't change the core of the game. And DBD is an interesting balancing challenge. So that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
All right, Reiko is asking, will we see any more Legion or Clown buff?
There's a very dangerous thing we do in this where we have a document where we list all the questions and answers, and then there's stuff like, do we want to talk about this right now? Which you should never
Are
put
we
that.
comfortable?
I feel like
know,
people
Matt.
should know. I'm
I
like
took
Ron
all the
Burgundy. I
questions
will
off
read
but that
whatever
one.
is written down.
I took
we are.
all the questions off but that one, so don't read
Yeah.
that. But it's okay. It depends on our game designer
So
here.
you can say it then.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, will we see any more Legion or Clown buffs? Specifically, I can say right now that we're looking at the Clown right now. There's work being done. There's ideas on buffing and making some changes to the Clown. But that's it. I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm not even sure what they are right now because we've been fielding different ideas and trying some things out on our end. But yeah, you can expect to see something for the Clown before the heat death of the universe.
Okay.
All right. Filthy Quentin is asking, is there any chance that you are planning to make Survivor have a unique passives?
Yeah, that's also an ongoing thing that keeps coming back every couple of months. Uh, yes and no. There's been a change to that when we added the fact that the survivors have the perks by default, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's not planned right now, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, higher priority tasks on our plate
Yeah.
at the moment.
We don't think it would be the thing that makes the game better right now.
Right. Pop Goes is asking, any plan to change slightly, moderately, tremendously to exact numbers? This is something that's been asked a lot, by the way. So take it away, Pat.
I mean, I'd say we've got a moderate plan to change that. No, but for real,
We're
we
slightly looking
yeah,
into it.
we're slightly looking into it. We're going to change the text moderately. But yeah,
But
we
it's a
are.
lot of text.
It's a lot of text,
tremendous amount of text.
and that's it. There's a tremendous amount of text, but it is something that we're looking at very seriously. I know I keep saying, "Oh, we're looking at stuff," but like this is one that's higher up on the list that we're paying attention to. It's hard though. There's a lot of text in the game that relies on this kind of verbiage, and we want to make sure that the kind of text that we replace it with is equally as clear without being confusing. Like, I don't want to just put a bunch of decimal places in every single one and go, this gives you a 0.03154 repeating second advantage, right? Like that kind of information, it just obscures the purpose of the perk or the ability or what have you. So yeah, we're working on it and trying to figure out how to word these things and how to communicate the information in a way that is clear, accurate, and not confusing.
And useful.
Yeah, and useful.
Yeah. All right. So the quick answer is moderately yes. That's
Yeah.
the answer? Okay. Verzo Man, will we ever be able to buy different Mori animation in the store?
Well, we don't like to say never, but it's not planned.
Okay. Quick answer to that. Agling is asking, will there ever be environmental risk in the maps?
Making maps more interactive is something that you've seen. I mean, I think it started with the junkyard where we put the ding and the door that opens. That was the
Ding.
first thing that we put that was specific. Then there's the foghorn in the swamp, and there's a few things like that. And I think that as we go, maps become a little more interactive. Who knows what's gonna happen next?
Okay. No concrete plan at the moment. Don't start the rumor mills.
Oh.
Yeah. Life by Nightlight is asking, will there be reworks, new balancing for rarely used killers?
I mean, that's kind of like the question we just answered about the clown, right? Like, one of the reasons why the clown became a character that we were paying attention to is because that the clown is not used as often as other killers. We want to make him more interesting, right? Make it more viable. And that's one of the ways that we make decisions on which killer to focus on next is we look at how often that killer is being played. We look at the success rates of that killer, and not just success rates overall, but success rates in the hands of newer players versus veteran players, all that kind of stuff. So will we be looking at rarely used killers? Yeah, we're looking at rarely used killers all the time.
There you go.
All right. Emotional Daisy is asking, will Susie and Joey get their own voices? So,
What?
the answer
Oh,
is
okay.
no.
You skipped the question there.
Did I again?
Yep, that's okay. It's okay.
I don't see it. No, I didn't.
All right. Then
Anyways.
will Susie and Joey get their own voices? Not planned.
All right. Simple answer.
Easy peasy.
Yogurt Manon, have you considered adding characters from iconic horror games instead of focusing on movies?
You mean like Left 4 Dead? No, never considered that.
Okay.
That was a joke.
We're all laughing right now.
Yeah, because we have
Just-
Bill from Left 4 Dead. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. That was the end of the answer.
Okay.
Fine.
Question
Trevor.
answered.
Yeah. Will each killer be getting their own unique chase music?
I mean, the plan for this is to make unique music for killers that are new. So as we're creating new killers, we're looking at ways that we can add in unique music for them. And also, if we're doing like major reworks to previously released killers or anything like that, we will consider that as part of the pass of them. But you're not going to see a patch that's like, bonk, everybody has unique chase music now. Like that's not going to be how we do
No.
it. We're going to do it piecemeal, one at a time, as we're already going in and touching the characters.
Right. So this is kind of a similar question, so I will just skip it. It's basically asking which killer is getting their own chase music, but I think we answered that one. Suicide Fox is asking, are there any plans for a Huntress add-on pack?
There are definitely plans. No ETA yet. I am a broken record in this call.
Yeah.
But there
There's
are
a lot
plans.
of things that is on our radar, but our radar goes very far in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of decision paralysis sometimes. There's
Um,
so many things we want to work on, but there's only so many hours in the day.
But there's also the
some-
thing where, you know, sometimes obviously we have a plan to tell people about what we're doing or when we release stuff, and we're not going to change our plan because someone asked a question on the chat, are we? Usually we have a plan to tell you about these things, but that's okay.
Sure.
We're happy to take those questions anyway, but you're just less excited about the answers.
Yeah, it sucks when you
it.
hear that you're being heard, but that no action is happening
Yeah.
at this exact moment.
Which is
Unfortunately,
not the case. It's just that there's a bigger plan
Yeah.
there. Anyway.
We're hearing you, and we'll do something about it when we get to it.
Also, sometimes there are plans for things. There are plans that are put on the roadmap, and things happen where we
change.
have to readjust other things before, and we change our priorities, and that fall into the backlog. Doesn't mean we don't have a plan for it. It's just the plan is on the back burner for now.
Yeah.
All right. Multiple people are asking, can we get the ability to preview different outfit pieces at the same time in the store?
Yeah, that's a highly requested thing. Being able to have essentially a changing room where you can go and try on different pieces of outfits and see how awesome they look together, or bad, because some might mix weirdly. It'd be great. It's not part of our priority right now.
Ooh, I found a question in the chat that I can answer right away. Will there be more community influence cosmetic? There's actually been a contest going on in the last month for the community to design an outfit. So we're going to announce the 2 winners during the anniversary stream. 2 weeks. Yay.
Yay.
BM33 is asking, any chance of having 2 sets of daily rituals, 3 for killers and 3 for survivors?
I mean, again, yes, we've been thinking about overhauling the ritual system. We're not super happy with the current distribution of rituals. It's very, for example, right now it's very killer centric, which isn't great. I want the survivors to have something to do too. Not sure when it's going to get done, where it's on the roadmap of future completion, but it's definitely something that we're aware of and looking at and considering how to address.
All right. Vector is asking, any update on the rank update error?
The rank update error, that's a nasty one. Yeah, it's a real tough one to solve. It's still being investigated. If you are suffering from the rank update error, we have a section on the DBD forums. Please, please, please go in there and share details. Interact with our wonderful community management team to provide us with those details. This bug is really tough for us to track down and to figure out exactly why it's happening. It's seems to be related to hardware and network specific conditions, so it's not something we can recreate very easily. So every bit of detail you can give us helps.
The more info, this is something that we'll fix together.
Yeah, and to be clear, there's been several times now where we think, okay, I think we fixed it, and then we push the patch out, and it gets a little bit better, and then something else happens, or people are still suffering from it. So it's a gnarly one, and we are taking it very seriously and really busting our butts to try to get it done.
All right, PS1. Any update on optimization?
Oh, that's his name. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, it's an
updates on
entire console.
PS1.
We're talking about optimization on all platforms, including consoles. So this is an answer to console optimization as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, who's
Yeah.
answering?
You take this one.
Yeah. I mean, optimization is really an ongoing process. I mean, especially as we continue to add new things to the game, we're trying to optimize the new additions that go in, and finding other ways to get large improvements across the board. This game's on a few different platforms. I don't know if you guys noticed, right? So we are focusing on all of those platforms. We're trying to find ones that benefit everyone. But if a specific console or platform needs the love and attention to give it that kind of performance boost, that's not off the table. But yeah, the optimization is something that's just ongoing. So like sometimes it's small steps and you're not really going to notice. Sometimes we get big gains, but yeah.
we're also we also have an ongoing section on the forums where any of you can report specific optimization issues. Saying FPS bad is not really helping us in any way.
Yeah.
However, if you tell us, hey, I'm getting FPS drop when this happened specifically, or on this map when I played this killer, that is going to help us a lot to identify where we can gain in terms of optimization. So again, like Matt said earlier, and it was beautiful, this is something we're tackling all together. So obviously, if you can give us all the info through this, that would be awesome.
You know that now it's going to be a thing and people are just going to report FPS bad.
FPS bad.
We already have that, so I mean, it's not...
You're not helping.
Wait, another thing is, on that section, you can also vote on the issues. So if you see someone that actually reported an issue that you are coming in to report, you can just upvote it, and then your job is done. So it's magical.
Yep. I just want to pipe in and say that I saw a question in chat that I need to answer. Somebody asked, bone-in or boneless wings? Clearly bone-in wings. Boneless wings are just nuggets. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, why would you say something so controversial and true?
Hot take from the DVD dev stream. Boneless wings are just nuggets.
You are now deemed a man of culture.
Look, there's nothing wrong with nuggets.
Don't
get me wrong.
I had nuggets for lunch,
but if
they were animal shaped.
Yeah, if you hand me a nugget and tell me it's a wing,
Oh, this is great. All right. Skylar Pup is asking, would it be possible to gift RXLs to friends? Also, would it be possible to gift cosmetic clothing purchases?
Yeah, it's a really cool feature. It's something that we love. Giving is always nice. Right now, it's not planned. It's not part of our roadmap. But there's a solution. You can always send gift cards to your friends, I guess.
For now.
Yep.
But it's beautiful that you just want to ask for a feature to gift people.
Sharing is caring.
Yep.
Harbinger 512. Any new gestures planned for Survivor? This is something also that I think we answered previously in other Q&As, but we can continue and answer it again.
Yeah, it's very, very delicate for gestures to not be purely for taunting or bullying purposes. It's a great way to express yourself, but the point was always to try to keep it to minimal conversation bits, and that's why you have the point and the here, and that's pretty much it.
All right.
And I guess the squat.
So we have 2 more questions here, and then we're gonna go to our special guest because we're getting up to 3
an hour.
So, we're gonna go over a little bit, but it's fine. Suzuki is asking, any plans on returning Legacy to those who lost it back in the days? So again, this is another question that we previously answered, but if you want to answer that, Matt,
I certainly don't, but I will. So this is something that keeps coming back. We want to make sure that legacy. Man, it was tough getting prestige back in those days. We want to make sure that we maintain what it means to have those legacy outfits, and therefore we're not going to do that unless we have a very very solid way to have a wayback machine that allows us to check the exact state of things at that time.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but it is extremely complex. But
And
it's a great segue into our
I was
the next part of the show.
yeah, I was gonna just note that so we track things very differently at the time, and
Yeah.
um,
The whole
we will
system
only
of analytics has been redone
yes,
since.
exactly. So it's really hard for us to do it in a way where we're confident we're returning it to the right people, and this is why we're not doing it at the moment.
Yeah. And there's too many ways to cheat this system.
Yep.
So we want to make sure.
All right. Roku is asking, do you have a plan to add the Nightmare and Quentin to the Nintendo Switch?
We would love to. It is an ongoing conversation with our pleasant partners, and until that is settled, there's nothing we can do. So.
Okay. All right. So this was the end of the 5 pages of questions. But we do have a special guest for you today. So I don't know how she's going to be introduced to the stream. Oh, hi. You're here.
Wow.
I don't know if you're still muted. No, you're good?
I'm good. I didn't expect to be on the big square.
Well, you're in
just
the
that
big
important.
square. So welcome in. So Danella, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Behavior?
Hi, I'm Donnie. I am a user researcher, which essentially means that if you have seen a survey in the last about 7 months, I think it's fair to say that I am responsible for it. I'm part of, I think I'm just going to take your first question here as part of my context, but I'm
Go
part
ahead.
of a team called, I'm part of a team called Rover. We're comprised of several different people, but really we are user researchers like myself, as well as data scientists, engineers, and analysts. And essentially what we do is we use various data sources like surveys and analytics and focus groups to give insights to the production team and help people make data-driven decisions.
All right. So why do we do these player satisfaction surveys?
There's a lot of information.
I know, go ahead, sorry.
So yeah, player satisfaction surveys are the rather lengthy surveys that you see probably once every 3 months. And the reason we do them is because there is a lot of types of data you can get out of game analytics. But for some things, you just have to ask. So things like, why do you play certain characters? Or what feels fair and things like that. You have to ask, especially in a game like DVD where balance is such a big focus. We can see something that's perfectly balanced with analytics, but it's also important to know that players feel that way as well. Perfectly balanced in the best world.
We have a question for the chat, from the chat. So Brown Monster wants to know, so does everyone goes to the opera or not? You were not there at the time, I think.
But we still get comments on it.
You still get comments on that one? God damn.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Which is a good question for the next one. Who decides on what questions goes in the surveys?
It's a perfect team effort. Before making a survey, I meet with all the different departments to figure out what burning questions they have for the community. And a lot of times they are very, very specific things, in which case that's the question that gets in the survey. But sometimes it's more a general feeling and a more vibe. We want to know what players do with their free time, for instance. Is it the opera? And in those cases, it's whoever's making the survey, recently me, who gets to write the actual questions.
What sort of information do we normally look for?
We're looking for all types of things. For the most part, we want things that we can't find using in-game analytics. But sometimes we have to ask those kind of questions anyway. So, for instance, when we're asking you questions like, do you prefer to play killer or survivor? we are not looking to figure out the distribution of killers and survivors in the game. We very much know that. But there are certain things that we can figure out and break down by other questions. So a great example is a couple surveys ago, we asked which map the players believe could benefit from a rework. As one expects, killers and survivors had slightly different opinions on the matter. And that is something we can discern with those types of questions. So as much as we want things that we can only get from surveys, sometimes we have to ask what seems like very obvious questions. And the reason that those questions are in there for various reasons, but they're all very purposefully designed to be in the survey.
All right. And so once the survey's done and you receive all the information, what do we do with this information? Because the way I answered the survey, we're not making this change right now or right away. So why? So what do we do with the info?
If we shorten the distance between player feedback and implementation, we could. So many different teams are doing their best to do that. But essentially, we make a very, very long report, send it out to all different departments, and then they start to ideally they've answered their questions, and we can start the process of fixing certain things in the game or developing new things or generally just moving the game forward. But a lot of times when we do these surveys, not only do we get back answers to the questions we intended, but we also get back so much more information than we expected. These are long surveys, and I know players think they're long because people tell me they're long, but people are still willing to do them, and we get so much information. So we're doing our best to take that information and do things as fast as possible, but it takes a while.
All right. And finally, the last question I had, do someone actually go through and read all the responses?
In a way, yes. And that someone is typically me, but I do have tools to help me out with that. So our surveys get tens of thousands of responses, and of those people, we get tens of thousands of open comments. And I read them. I read as many as I can. I read enough to know that I've been rickrolled several times. People have sent me photos of their dogs disguised as, insights about perks and stuff like that, which I appreciate. I enjoy that. I get a lot of people sending me their emails.
Roll like 10 times fold now because you said that.
Gonna have pictures of dogs rickrolling you.
I won't be upset if there are more pictures of dogs on the next player satisfaction survey. I won't be upset because I read the comments. I really do. But there are thousands and thousands of comments, so no one can read them all. But we have special software that was designed by one of the people on the rover team, which is great, and it can take these thousands of comments and divide them into much more digestible topics. So we can look at these topics and say 20% of players are talking about X, Y, or Z, and that gives us that much better insight about what players are actually thinking about, and then we can go in and really discern what we can do to help them out.
So there's some people in chat asking,
Did I?
Oh.
Uh-oh. Internet.
We lost you.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said there's some people asking, and then nothing.
And I was like, what are they
Wow.
asking, Matt?
So
What are they
mysterious.
asking? We want to
Yeah.
know.
All
No,
right,
they were-
that's the
they
end of
were
the live stream, folks.
I was just about to spill some beans. No, I was gonna say some people are asking if cats would also be acceptable.
I will take any and all cat photos, as well as honest feedback about the game. I'll take it all. I'm going to read it.
Especially feedback about the game, I guess. We're still trying to maintain the spirit of those surveys, right?
The ultimate goal is definitely to improve our game in a variety of different contexts.
Thank you for clearing
And
that.
sometimes cat photos, improve my day, so I wouldn't be upset.
Wonderful.
Rickroll her. Really don't. All right, guys. I think we went over tons of questions today. We're already over our time limit. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm gonna go over our news and announcement, and then we're gonna say goodbye. So, first off, thank you for to the mods. I don't know if it was done earlier, but thank you to the mods for hanging out and doing the job in this chat. I could see it was spicy at some time.
Yeah.
Thank you to Matt Cote, Patrick Aris, and Danella to join us today. Thank you so much. And finally, we are doing the 4th anniversary stream on May 26th on Twitch and YouTube. So join us at that time. Matt says it's gonna be epic. Say goodbye to Cooper as well. And we'll see you in a week and a half. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hmm.